Hi guys, it's Tamara coming back at you with another video. Welcome back to my channel. Let's go ahead and jump into our Wednesday bonus video because what we're going to be doing is extending our understanding of anger. So on Monday I talked a little bit about anger management, how to deal with explosive anger, and also how to respond to somebody who is explosively angry. I also wrote an article on my blog on blogs.psychcentral.com/caregivers, and you're going to see that it is basically an article about sociopaths, but I also redirect you to an article I did last week on explosive anger. So in this video, short video, we're going to talk a little bit about what's called the anger iceberg. And it's something that a lot of therapists use to demonstrate to patients and clients exactly what's underneath their anger. So I'm sure we can all agree in watching this video that anger basically stems from some sort of undercurrent emotion, right? It's not always just the outward display of anger. It's not always just the person saying, I'm mad and that's it, I'm mad. There's usually some other emotion under the surface. And I usually use this diagram in sessions with kids. And my ultimate goal, my whole goal in those sessions when I use this diagram is to help them understand that anger is not just what it looks like. There's typically something under the surface that is causing you to externalize your feelings. We have people who internalize and people who externalize. Internalize is to push things down and act like they don't exist and attempt to come across to others as managing life well. But underneath the surface, there's a lot going on. Then we also have externalizers, who are people who express their anger, but they do it in a way that isn't always recognizable. It takes some time to recognize it. And there's also a passive-aggressive approach to people who externalize their anger, right? They're aggressive, but in a very passive way. So then that way you can't turn around and say, oh, wait a second, that's not appropriate, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about how to manage your anger, or how to help somebody else manage their anger. And then I want to explain the anger iceberg just a little bit more. So the benefits in this video for you today is that you're going to learn a little bit more about the anger iceberg. You're going to also get some tips. I think I have about 4 tips written down on how to manage your emotions or somebody else's emotions and anger. So let's go ahead and jump right in, okay? So let's talk about the anger iceberg. So I'm going to draw a real quick picture for you, the anger iceberg. And I'm going to do it with a marker because I want you to be able to see this. So I encourage you to use this with your family as well. So let's say you have a preteen, an adolescent, or somebody who is a visual learner, right? Somebody who does better with talking and looking at something or watching something. So usually this is how I do it. I usually have, my iceberg is awful, but I usually have kids draw me a picture of an iceberg. At the top, I have them put what others see. And at the bottom, what others don't see. Okay? This is basically how simplified I make this. I'll bring it closer so you can see it. All right, so this is usually how I do that. Okay, so that's my iceberg that I use for kids. And basically, I have them write down, again, what others see and what others don't see. I start with the top of the iceberg. Okay, and the top of the iceberg, basically, I have the kid list or the family list all the things that they visually see with their eyes or what they visually project to other people. So smiling, laughing, cheerfulness, good mood, positive mood, being in control, being in emotional control, being in psychological control, right? Being very expressive and passionate and motivating to other people, inspirational. Sometimes anger outbursts, right? So slamming things, kicking things, screaming, yelling, offending, cursing, a lot of profanity, a lot of talking against the person that you're angry with, a lot of passive-aggressive behavior, but the passive-aggressiveness is kind of aggressive in outward, right? Because you're saying things that are inappropriate, you're using a lot of profanity, you're using a lot of attitude or confrontational moods, right? All of those are the things that I have the family or the child list at the top, the things that we can see. Now, the things that I have them list at the bottom, which are the things that we don't see, I have them list the undercurrent emotion: humiliation, rejection, pain, unresolved conflict with family members, poor parent-child relationship, emotions attached to that, feelings of rejection, right? Feelings of being minimized, cultural exclusion, feeling of not being culturally included, socially included, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of envy, jealousy, hatred, self-hatred, right? Learned helplessness. All of those things tend to be underneath the surface. Okay, I apologize for that, guys. That was my alarm on my camera. But I was saying that all of those things are the things that we see, right? And so underneath the surface, there are other things going on. So the iceberg is a great way to get somebody to conceptualize. The iceberg is a good way to help somebody conceptualize what's really happening to them, what's really happening to their own emotions. Okay, so I want to give you 4 things that you can do if you're struggling with anger, and hopefully this will open up discussion for you or kind of motivate and stimulate your thoughts. Okay, so the first thing I encourage you to do when you're struggling with anger is to ask yourself, where is this coming from? Do some introspection, right? Ask yourself, where is this coming from? Why is it being expressed this way? Is there anything wrong with my expression of this anger? Is there something wrong with my mindset, right? Or my visual understanding of a situation, right? My perception of things. Is there something wrong here? Is there something that I need to look into? Why am I acting this way? Okay, that's a question that therapists and psychotherapists have all the time when they meet with people, strangers, family, right? Clients. Why, right? There's always this curiosity, this question mark, right? The next one is to think about the events leading up to and following the anger outburst, right? So what you want to do is try to identify triggers, right? What has me in this mood? What has me angry? What has me acting and responding this way, right? So what you want to do is look at the events leading up to your explosive anger and the events following the explosive anger, right? And what you're trying to do is identify triggers, and then you're also trying to identify consequences or some of the things that might re-trigger your anger. When I talk about anger, and I want to draw this for you, when I talk about anger with families, I talk about it in terms of a cycle, okay? And so the cycle is honeymoon, right? So that's the first thing, honeymoon, build up stage, right? And then calm, right? And then explosive. Okay, so this is the way that I talk about anger with my families, right? So this is kind of the cycle that I give them. And basically what I'm trying to say with this cycle is that there's always a honeymoon period, right? I'm gonna put it this way. There's always a period in the anger cycle where things are okay, right? And that's the honeymoon stage. Then we have the stage where things are kind of building up and you're starting to feel like your anger is revving up. Then there might be a period of calm where things are going okay. And then kaboom, here's the explosive stage. So it's kind of like a cycle. There's a calm period, there's a build-up stage where you feel like you're getting a little bit angry, then you might calm down, and then kaboom, you explode. Okay, so think of anger in terms of a cycle, right? A never-ending cycle. Okay, the next thing I want you to do is consider the cultural, social, and environmental triggers that may be behind your anger, right? What's going on socially for you? Are you feeling rejected? Are you feeling unloved, uncared for, right? What's the cultural feelings? What's the internalized cultural feelings? Do you feel not approved of? Do you feel rejected? Do you feel, what is it? And then the environmental triggers, right? Did somebody push your buttons? Did somebody say something that triggered this? So I want you to explore what are the triggers socially, culturally, and environmentally. And that's going to be important. The more insight you build, the better. The less insight you have, the worse, right? Because you don't know the cycle. You don't know how you're perpetuating things. You don't know what you're saying and doing that could cause other people harm. So you want to be able to look at yourself and say, okay, what is the social, cultural, environmental triggers, and where do I need to learn? Okay, the last thing is find something to help you gain a balanced view. Okay, find something to help you gain a balanced view. Family and friends who will tell you the truth. Prayer, journaling, meditation. I have counseling on here, and then I also have relaxation. All those things cause you to narrow your worldview so that you're not all over the place. You want to narrow your worldview and look at what it is that can help you gain a balanced view. The more narrow your emotions and your perspective in terms of narrowing down what's triggering your anger and what can help you, the better, okay? The less narrow your perspective, you're all over the place, right? You don't know what's going on. Narrow your perspective, refocus your perspective, restructure your perspective, and more than likely you'll be fine. All right, guys, thanks so much for being with me today in this video. I encourage you to give it a thumbs up if it was helpful to you. I also encourage you to hit the subscribe button if you want to stick around for videos like this where I give you tips. This is a counseling channel for growth, so my goal is to always give you guys something to think about, always give you something to talk to me about, next questions about. So I'm going to keep that going, all right? On Friday, we're going to talk about something just a little bit different. But again, we're still in the month where we're doing our psychotherapy crash course. So stay tuned for upcoming videos. All right, guys, thanks so much. And I'll talk to you really soon. Bye-bye.